Hello everybody, this is Martina and today I'm going to test whether I can use NPoco, which is an ORM, and it allows you to contact your database, to write to, read from, get all, or do pretty much do all the CRUD operations, and then also integrate that with a Blazor app, because Blazor is this new cool thing which I think is much easier than other things like a standard, let's say, .NET Core or the .NET Framework application. And since .NET Core and Framework and Standard are all going to fuse in the end and in a sensible way, I thought I will take the initiative and see how we can combine NPoco and Blazor. Enjoy! Great, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open Visual Studio and just create a quick new project. Just going to move my screen to the other side so that you can see. Okay, perfect. I'm clicking on Create a New Project. Good. So the first thing I will do is I will create my Blazor app. So if you don't see it, just search for it there. Give it a name. I'm just going to give it a random name quickly, which will say Blazor and NPoco integration test. Just call it whatever you need. I'm clicking on create. Okay, now it will ask you what kind of app you want, whether it's a Blazor server app or a Blazor WebAssembly app. I'm choosing server app. For now, I will just remove the configure for HTTPS and not include any authentication because I just want to just keep it as simple as possible. All right, so the Blazor app has been created. Just wait for the little icon here for the background task to complete. Good. So what I found is a nice tutorial on NPoco from or on C# Corner. I just absolutely love C# Corner. It's c-sharpcorner.com if you want to have a look. And here they talk about how to use NPoco. So I'm just going to show that to you quickly. Good. So what they're doing is it looks like they have given us a script if we want to follow their tutorial on how to create the database quickly that they will use in the tutorial and how to create the table. We're not going to do that. I'm just going to create my own quick table and database. Good. So then, unfortunately, they are not using Blazor. They are using .NET Core, but that's fine. And they are also using a web API, which we're not going to use. But in any case, what they do is they install the Nuget NPoco ORM, which is very important for us. What they then do is they create a model of how the table basically looks like, the database table. So just put in, as per usual, put in all your properties, which will be those field names, the column names that you've got in your database table. And what's cool here is that, for instance, if your table name is different from your model name, then you can specify here with table name that it should what the actual table name is in SQL. Then also here they're just specifying the primary key, just to make it a bit more obvious that this is the field, the column in pretty much in SQL that's going to be used as the primary distinguishing key. Then what they then do is they create an interface, and the interface is super simple. It will just get all customers, it will get one customer by its ID, it will add one, it will update one, and it will delete one. So very, very simple. What I see here is that they are indeed using the customer model here. So what I'm assuming is that unless we want to go super generic, we will have to create something similar for all the models that we have. The next thing that they do here is they create a repo, a repository, and then they inherit from the interface that will automatically add some methods for us that we have added in the interface, and then we can populate them. And what's really, really, really cool about NPoco is that it's super simple to do the CRUD operation. So look at this. We've got the connection string, so it's iDatabase connection, new database, and then just a standard connection string, and what SQL server you're using, and so forth. Then also we've got the get all, which is just a standard SQL query, select star from customers, and then we just put it in a list. Then for the get a customer by ID, they've got a nice method here that will be inherited, which is a single by ID. Then for the add, we've got an insert, and that's really cool. So with Entity Framework and any other database integration, one would have to write a whole lot of code to do this. And here, this is literally it. You insert customer into customer. That's all. Update, almost the same. Delete, also very simple. Okay, last thing that they do is they create a controller. Okay, but that's just for their web API. It might look a little bit different for us. And then they do their demo. Okay, perfect. So let's continue with our thing. Good. Let's create a database and some tables. So I'm going to open up SQL. Okay. SQL is open. I'm going to create a new database. I'm just going to call it NPoco test DB. I'm going to leave everything the same for this tutorial. Good. No tables. I'm going to create a table. All right. Of course, we've got an ID. We're going to make that a primary key. And the way to do that is just to say set primary key, and then to make it do this automatically so that we don't have to type it in. You can look here at the bottom where it says identity specification, and then you say is identity yes. So that will make sure that it's auto incrementing here and where it starts and so on. Good. All right, what are we going to say here? Let's create a database or a table that will, yes, add some posts. So we've got a post title that will just be a nvarchar 50 for now. Might be a bit shorter, but okay. The one thing to notice here is the nvarchar max. If you're not sure what that is about, only use that in circumstances where it's going to be a really, really long thing, because otherwise it's going to reserve memory and things for that. So always try to use something that is fit for its purpose. So if we know the title is, for instance, going to be only 20 long max, we can even type it in there. Good. Then we've got the post title, we've got the, let's say, post subtitle. I'm going to make that a 40. let's say post body. There we can now use an nvarchar max. Good. So I'm going to leave it like this for now. I'm going to save it. Now it's asking me what name I want to give my table. I'm going to call it posts. And that's it. Good. Now back to my Blazor app. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another project to the solution. So right click on the solution and we are going to say add new project. This time around I am going to choose a console app. I just want to keep things separate so that we could, for instance, in a future scenario, use that library again somewhere else. Actually, it's not a console app, it's a console library. So let's, oh, there we go. Library.NET Standard. I'm using standard now because it can integrate with core and framework. I'm going to call it NPoco Blazor test library. Please don't look at my naming conventions because at the moment this is only a test. Good. So we're going to first of all create an interface. And before we do that, we have to create or we have to get some dependencies. So right click on dependencies. You will see that for a core app or a framework app or anything else, it will say something different here. So for core, it will be dependencies, but for framework, you will see it says references. In Blazor, it also uses the naming convention dependencies. So that's pretty much the same to get you to the Nuget packages and so on, all the references. So I'm going to say manage Nuget packages. I'm going to browse and I'm looking for NPoco. That's the one. I'm installing it. It will install a heck load of stuff. And now we'll wait. Okay, it will prompt you whether you want to accept all the licenses. All right, everything looks like it's installed, nothing processing here anymore. Package Manager console, let's see what that says. Nothing, okay, because I didn't have it open. Anyway, let's continue with the interface. I'm going to create a folder just to make it easier for myself and call it interfaces because I might actually have quite a few, even though for this tutorial I won't, but yes. And I'm going to say add a class and I'm going to say interface, and here I'm actually going to use the naming convention, which is starting with an I. And then since it is a interface for our posts, I'm going to say I posts repository. There we go, we're creating it. Great stuff. It is a public interface because otherwise I won't be able to see it later on. It might actually be internal, but okay. Then I'm just going to cheat a little bit and copy what they have on the tutorial C# corner and plop it in here. And I'm just going to change my values. I'm going to say post. It will give me the red squigglies because I don't have the model yet, but that's fine. We're going to get to that just now. Okay. Good. The ID, we just called it ID, but this is the parameter, so I'm just going to say ID post, like they had here. Post. And let me fix the spelling mistake that they have, lol. And then ID post. Good. We've got our get all, get one, add, update, and delete. Great stuff. I'm saving this. And now I'm going to add a model quickly. So what's nice about Visual Studio is that it has some hints that you can hover on. So here it, for instance, says generate a class, generate a new type, and so on. In a new file, that's what we want. But actually, it's going to put it where I don't want to have it. So I will just create another quick folder for my models. And actually what I'm thinking now is that the models should I actually want to use my models as view models as well. So if you want to do that, it might actually be a good idea to rather put the model in your other app. But for sakes of this tutorial, I'm keeping it simple. I'm just keeping it inside the main one. I'm adding another class. And this is another model, so I'm going to call it post. Just like the table, the database table. I'm going to make it public. And I'm adding some things. And if you don't know that yet, if you write prop and you select tab tab, or if you press tab tab on your keyboard, it will do this. It's magic. And then you can choose what it is. So we have got an int for our primary key. If you want to go to the next thing you want to change, the one that's highlighted there, the my property, you go tab again and then jumps to the next one, and then you can start typing. So we've got ID, and then I just press end to get to the end, press enter, and then I do the same for the next one. Prop, tab, tab. There we go. This time around, it's a string because it's our title. Tab again. Oh, yes. What have I called it? Let's have a quick look. I called post title, post subtitle, and post body. See how quick this is? This is amazing. Okay. Since it's exactly the same from my customers table in the database, I don't even need to specify the table name and so on. Actually, I need to specify the table name probably because it's customer or post and posts, like they had in the example, customer and customers. Bam, posts. Good. And the primary key. It looks like they also put the primary key at the top of the class, not the property. And I'm going to say the primary key is the ID. I'm not sure if that will automatically be seen as the primary key if it's like a generic name like this, but we're just going to put it in for in case. I'm going to say using NPoco as my reference here at the top, just so that it can reference these guys. That's it, save. Now we can go back to our repository and it should pick up the posts now using models. Perfect. And that is it for now. So we've got the interface, we've got the model. Now we're creating a repository. For the repository, I'm going to follow the same pattern in a sense. I'm going to create a quick folder.
and I'm calling it repositories. If I can spell it correctly, yes. And I'm going to add another class, and I'm going to call it post repository. Okay.
Great stuff.
To inherit from the interface, I'm putting a code on and say I post repository,
Enter. Now it will complain that I haven't integrated it yet, which is awesome. I'm going to say implement interface, and you will see it shows me throw new not implement exception on all of these because the methods are empty. And now I'm going to cheat again and just copy paste from the tutorial. The first thing we need is we need to connect to our database. So here is the naming convention for the connection string. For iDatabase, it also gives me a squiggly now. Let's see what they say. Using NPoco, that's what we want. All right, and here, let's see what they want here. Using system data SQL client, that is probably what we want and what the C# corner tutorial also says in its namespace, so let's add that. All right, of course, this is not correct. It says here integrated security true because it's a local one. The connection string can change as or depending on what you want. So if you want something more secure, you will see that it changes here. It will also allow you to add a username and a password and so forth for your database. Here it will just be my database name, which I called, what did I call it? NPoco test DB. I might actually need to change the data source, but we will see if it works out the way they've got there. Because I did add it as a local DB, but we shall see. There is a super, super cool website online which shows you pretty much any connection string that you need, whether it's for C# related things or other programming languages. So let's see if I can find it, then I can show it to you. Yes, it's connectionstrings.com.
Easy as that. Let me drag it here so that you can see. Oh, look at that cute logo. Anyways, so here it says connect to whatever you need. We had the SQL Server, so that's what I selected last time I did a tutorial. And here, standard security, trusted connection, it goes into detail there what they are doing and stuff. So we might refer back to that later if my connection string doesn't work that I stole from C# corner. Anywho, let's do some copy paste work. So the get all customers, where have we got them? There we go. It will, of course, give me the red squigglies. We're going to get to that just now. Get customer by ID. So I didn't change my names of my interface methods. We can get to that just now as well. Get customer by ID. Then we've got add customer. And then we have update customer. And lastly, we have delete customer. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with renaming. So I'm just going to pause this video and we will get back into it once I've done all my changes.
Okay, I'm back. As you will see on my time, here in the bottom right,
How quick was that to just do all of this? It's amazing. And with MPoco, there's not a lot of code that you need.
with anything else, there would have been so much code we had to write and update on things. So I'm already in love with NPoco. Good. I've just changed all the namings to posts instead of customers. Same for my repository or the interface, I mean. And that is it. Now the fun begins. Good. For the rest of this tutorial, I'm not going to follow that C# corner tutorial anymore. I'm actually going to do my own thing. So bear with me. I will explain as I go. I might make some mistakes, or I might figure things out along the way, but I will always inform you what I'm doing. And you're welcome to put me on double speed if you just want to see what I'm doing, which is actually something I'm doing often with YouTube videos. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you will learn from it as much as I do. Have fun!